Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you're well. You know, the last day or two has seen some pretty heavy shenanigans in Parliament where Keir Starmer has apparently backtracked or climbed down with regard to the severity of the digital ID that they want to enforce on everybody. Now, I did a video on this on the channel yesterday. It came out and it gave more of the details. People are badging this as a complete climb down, as in digital ID has been scrapped. But what we have to make sure is that we are not misled, because digital ID has not been scrapped, or the premise of it, should I say. It's more the conditions of it. What they're saying at the moment is, instead of making it mandatory for anybody, you know, that has to give proof of ID for work, it's now voluntary. Well, that really defeats the whole idea of the process in the first place, doesn't it? Not only that, you think about the rest of it. You know, if you're going to have a digital ID and spend billions on it and it's voluntary, no one's going to take it up. It's a complete bloody waste of time. So, of course, none of it, and I mean none of it at all, makes any sense. There's an article that came out that I want to share with you that's got some valid points in it, and it's, as the title entails, Starmer breaks down as Nigel Farage exposes him live on TV, and actually goes through all of this. So let's have a look. So there you go. Nigel Farage rips into Keir Starmer over latest U-turn, one of his worst moments yet. Well, it's yet another U-turn, isn't it? In yet another series of route. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy that's actually coming out with this, it's all political shenanigans, but it does give some very valid points. So, Reform UK leader hits out at Prime Minister over digital ID crackdown. So, Nigel Farage ripped into Keir Starmer over the digital ID U-turn. The Prime Minister is reportedly watering down plans so the scheme is voluntary rather than mandatory in order to work in Britain. Now, that's the first point that we've got to realise there. In order to work in Britain, that's the key thing. And that's how they originally envisaged selling this complete sham to everybody, to give you the right to work in Britain. Well, of course, we know it's not really going to do that, and there's been plenty of proven fact out there. So what are you watering down exactly? And if you think of all of these draconian laws and legislation that they're trying to put into place only to be wheeled back on, something don't sit right really with all this, does it? And as for digital ID, don't get complacent. That's all I'll say. So it continues. Speaking on GB News, the Reform leader said the announcement of compulsory digital ID was, I thought, one of Starmer's worst moments yet. Oh, they told us it would stop illegal immigration. They told us it would stop illegal working. They told us it would make our health records even better and more efficient. Well, all of that is utter mumbo jumbo for the birds, as some of the politicians would put it, because there is what you would call an undercurrent going on, or I suppose you could call it a black market, where cash changes hands, and there are networks within this country where people do find work in areas where they might not necessarily do so, and probably can circumvent this kind of stuff. I've had contact from people in other countries that run a digital ID scheme, and believe you me, this is just an excuse. So, you know, Farage is talking sense there in this news piece. So let's see what else we have, shall we? We have, of course, the counter-arguments were that it's Big Brother gone mad. The counter-arguments were that all this data would just leak anyway, as nearly all of it does. It was very interesting because the public, in a snap poll by about 70% to 30%, when they heard the initial argument, it would stop illegal working, were in favour of it. Once the country debated it for a couple of weeks, it kind of went 70-30 the other way. This government is astonishing. It announces initiative after initiative and gets forced to change its mind. Well, these are all very communist, centrist, controlling type things, aren't they, straight away, that they want to pull in to control the populace, and we're not that kind of society. We're not now. When you initially say illegal migration, it's going to cure, people are going to go, "Way, stop the boats," and all the rest of it. I didn't fall for it for a second, and I'm sure many other people out there didn't. This isn't about that, because once you get that state control, once you get that card that you can tie all the services and facilities onto that you would need every day, your life isn't your own. Have you thought of that? That's where we are, folks. So, yes, it's been wound down, but be very careful. Be very careful about becoming complacent. So Keir announced plans for mandatory digital ID to work in the UK in September by 2029 in a bid to tackle the small boats crisis. If you look at 2029 as a date, and that's very important, a very important date, what you have is the fact that, all being well, there'll be another general election on or around 2029. So, in fact, it's just kicking the can down the road. Was there any ever intention of doing this in the first place? Or is something else going on? But, you know, Farage did a demolition job, pointing out everything. Some of it might be the obvious, but he said at the time, let me spell it out, you will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have a digital ID. Do you remember that? I do. It was at that digital ID conference. But the policy sparked an intense backlash with nearly 3 million people signing a petition against it. A government spokesperson said, we are committed to mandatory digital ID to work checks. Now, there's one very important thing you have to realise about petitions, and I don't think many people do. There is a process. You raise a petition through the government website. That's what's happening. You get hundreds of thousands, and in some cases millions of signatures. Well done. It gets debated, and then Parliament does that to the people they're supposed to represent. And people think, well, what's the point in the petition process if none of our petitions are ever successful? If you have a look at Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain, they're using the petition system to get these issues raised and eventually debated within Parliament. I think that's great, the way he's doing it. But if you look at the petition system itself, if you look at constitutional law, what in fact should happen, you petition Parliament. If you don't get any joy there, then what you do, you petition the monarch. And a petition to the monarch has to be done in a particular way and has to include a prayer of all things. Now, if at that stage you don't get any joy with the monarch, and us as a population still have a problem, there is a third recourse of action. Now, when they stop teaching constitutional principles to our kids in the 1970s in schools, a lot of people will not know what that alternative solution is. Think about it. It's not very hard to find out. The more people that know our ancient laws and inalienable rights, the quicker we can get this sorted. We've always been clear that details on the digital ID scheme will be set out following a full public consultation, which will launch shortly. Digital ID will make everyday life easier for people, ensuring public services, this is the thing, more personal, joined up and effective, while also remaining inclusive. Now, that's the line that gives it all the way there. Now, I did a video on this and I showed you my wallet, right? My wallet. And I said in there is my driving license. And that's one of the documents I can use to literally prove everything I need to prove about who I am, what I do, where I go. That's it. I do not need a digital ID. And also remember how reliant we were on these things. That's caused us no end of issues also. And it's like mission creep, the old Fabian, slowly, catch-eye something or other. That's what it's all about. Anything with these Express articles is all these damn adverts everywhere. And you can see some of the comments and everything on there. But just to, reiterate the whole scenario for you, and it is very important. You're born, you get a birth certificate. As somebody pointed out to me on the bottom, it says you can't use this as identification. I've got one of those old little ones from the 1970s. You learn to drive, you get a driving license. Funny that, isn't it? And the modern ones, like I showed you, in my pocket, have everything on it you need to identify yourself: your name, your address, your date of birth. It's even got a mugshot. Fancy that. Then there's a passport, a British passport, but has your photograph, your name, your address, your date of birth, and even where you've gone your summer holidays. Then you've got other things like bus passes, NHS cards, and all these things that you use every day in your life to identify yourself. You need a mugshot, a name, an address, a photograph. What's the problem? If you have a look actually online, you will see loads of countries all over the globe that are either trying to get this scheme going or they've already done it. And if you look at how they sold this to their populations to begin with, you'll find they did it in the same way. It was, this will make your life easier. You can use this ID to identify yourself in certain ways, and that's it. Then all of a sudden, wouldn't it be good if you had a bank account and you needed an ID to open a bank account? Wouldn't it be good if you, to open your gas and electric accounts, you needed an ID? Oh, you can't have broadband either. And then slowly but surely, you go to the shops and just to buy an orange or a loaf of bread or something, you need ID. Now, it's very important to understand with digital ID as well that when you end up with that level of control, because that's what it is at the end of the day, they can switch it off anytime you like. So anybody that comes on and says, oh, it's okay, that's okay, no problem. Well, think really hard about what kind of life you would have if this digital ID was there. If this digital ID went as far as it could do. I know I've got a problem with that. Do you, if you really think hard about it? If you look at some of the work Restore Britain's done, they've said, we will fight it. They have members areas on there where they can suggest policies and suggest petitions to bring to Parliament. And the digital ID one got, loads and loads and loads and loads of signatures on it, or email addresses, or whatever you want to call it. So you can tell really that the level of public opinion against it is astronomical. And when you debate this stuff in Parliament, all you get is, we're going to do it anyway. And all they do is just reiterate the bullshit position that they came up with. Not very impressive, is it? Really? Not very impressive at all. And meanwhile, the world goes round. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm quite happy with the paperwork I've got to identify myself. It's worked for years. I've got my mobile phone that's worked equally as long. And I don't think I need anything else. And if you look at the agenda, if you look at the stuff that Farage just said in that news article, and by God, he's not the only one, you can see the direction of travel. You can see the centricity, the control over the whole thing and where it's going. Not good. Subscribe to the channel if you're on YouTube. Appreciate it very much. We're doing well there again. Follow me on X if you're watching this video on there. Hit the like button, leave comments, share my stuff everywhere. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.